I have no exit plan to get out of optometry.
Right.
And the reason I don't is, listen, I'm with patients. I'm with them a half hour. You don't run them in and out. And there's a personal relationship. And when they say they love you and they wouldn't go anywhere else.
Hi everybody, it's Amy Valdivia and this is the Just Ask Upland Podcast, where we are highlighting our chamber community and those members that are doing some business in our town of Upland and maybe some surrounding territories as well. Maybe, just maybe. I am so excited because I am part of the greatest chamber in the Inland Valley. That's right, we were voted the best chamber in the Inland Valley, and today we're going to have an episode with someone who clearly exhibits what a true, fantastic, positive business person is. Don't laugh. I'm actually trying to give you some grace here.
Grace?
Oh, that gray too. We have Dr. Bob with us. Yay! 13-year member of the chamber, and he is someone who's a pro at networking. We're going to hear all about his story, all about how he applies his positivity to his business and how the chamber has impacted his business. Hi, Dr. Bob.
Hello, my dear. How are you doing, Amy?
I'm fantastic.
Good.
Let me clarify. Dr. Robert Rothbard of Rancho Cucamonga Optometric Center.
And I haven't heard that out of your mouth once in as long as we've known each other.
I just call him Dr. Bob.
Yeah.
Tell me, who's Dr. Bob? How'd you get here and how'd you get into business?
How did I get here, my folks? Anyway, I was born in New York in 1956 and born in Queens, New York at Kew Gardens Hospital. 8 days later, I was admitted into the Jewish faith by having my bris, which for you people who are challenged with Hebrew, it means your circumcision. Isn't that wonderful? Getting past that, I was right. I had to say that. I was raised in Westbury, New York, which is in the middle of Long Island, Nassau County. Went to school there. We had great teachers. I graduated high school in 1974, and even in my junior year and sophomore and junior, I knew I wanted to be an optometrist.
Really?
I really did. I was really guided with that. And I figured why? Because it was a fairly decent income and it was not blood and guts, supposedly. And so I went to the State University in New York in Albany. Anyway, I went there 2 years. It was probably one of the most miserable experiences of my life, going to undergraduate. She says, you go here as an undergraduate, you're going to be looked at favorably. I did great on my OCATs, which is the Optometry College admission test. I got into optometry school and went 4 years. I did an internship in specialty, and Pacific was great for one thing, functional vision. I'm a behavioral optometrist, which means I look at what people's vision is and how they're able to perform reading, sports, work, looking at screens, and I also look at the fact that how those items affect one's vision. That's behavioral optometry. My niche, and Amy's got a niche in her business too, my niche is getting bigger and bigger, and the amount of doctors dealing with it is less and less. A lot of optometry is getting into the medical end of it. Glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, which is good, but it's a very small percentage. I deal with all the people who sit in front of screens all day long. I deal with kids who've had learning disabilities. Biggest part of my practice comes from a lot from the chamber. I mean, I look at all the people whom we've had from the chamber. Joining the chambers has been more to me than just business. It's the social event that does it. My sister makes it a point, and she's in Florida. I won't say anything more.
She could be a sister.
But she's a sister.
Yes.
And
I want to make sure we have the Dr. Bobism
translation.
clarified. Yes.
Anyway, she comes out here purposely. Now, she wants to know when the Taste of the Inland Empire is, which is a big big upland chamber of commerce event. Martha comes out ever since. She loves coming out here. She has a few of her faves who we all get together.
Yes.
And this brings me, I'll use another Yiddishism, nachas. Nachas means pleasure and pride, to be able to do this for my family. I have no exit plan to get out of optometry.
Right.
And the reason I don't is, listen, I'm with patients. I'm with them a half hour. You don't run them in and out. And there's a personal relationship. And when they say they love you and they wouldn't go anywhere else, and My longest patient, I started at 5 or 6 years, when she was 5 or 6 years in Anaheim, and lost touch for a while, but then she came back in about 1992, 93, 94. This is 1981. Her daughter comes to me. She's now about 46 or 47 years old, and she's on one of the, and comes from Garden Grove. We have somebody who comes from, she fell in the schoolyard. She was a teacher or a principal, and she developed a concussion. But her eyes also, which I deal with, did not work well together. And she had trouble with double vision, and God knows nobody really measures this. And she, finally everything worked out. She said, listen, this is my eye doctor. He found it, and she said this to one of the ophthalmologists. And we're gonna go with what he said. About a few months ago, I get a call from her, and I remembered who she was.
Or from her.
From whatever.
Her or her, you know.
Whatever.
Go ahead.
So anyway, she called me from Washington, D.C., and she's going through cataract surgery. And she says, I have some questions, but I'd like to come out there and get your opinion from Washington, D.C. And it was really such an honor. I said, you don't need to do that. I'm going to hook you up and tell you what type of doctors, and the type of doctors whom I deal with that deal with this type of optometry.
Okay, let me clarify, because we're walking a line right here. Optometry versus ophthalmology.
Okay, big difference, but the difference is getting less and less.
Okay.
Optometry is getting more into the medical end of things. Ophthalmology are medical doctors that specialize with eye disease and surgery, but they're becoming a little more attentive to refraction clarity because of the two surgeries, one of which I had, LASIK or cataract surgery. I told the guy I wanted a certain amount of nearsightedness left, just a skosh, so I can read in addition to seeing distant. Most of the time I don't wear glasses, and he nailed it. And I'm going to tell him you got to do the video with me, because what I compare it to, when I look at this versus this eye, even though this eye's clear, you ever see that commercial for Tide, where whites are whiter, and if you don't use Tide, it's a little dingier? That's what this eye looks like, and with this, it's bright white. Like
what's the measurement for a skosh?
A skosh? Maybe in Spanish, poquito.
So
just a little bit, half a unit if you want, half a unit diopter. So I can read here, and I have a depth of focus to be able to see, and with both eyes. The only time I really need glasses is if I wear sunglasses, because the darkness decreases the depth of focus. That's the only time I ever really need them in prescription.
Well, ophthalmology is not blood and guts.
Oh, it isn't?
I'm asking.
It is.
Okay.
A lot of it is because you're dealing with, and by the way, I've saved 2 lives, and I'll tell you about that one.
That's right.
And this is the whole idea when I feel I'm dealing with divine intervention. I refer it. I'm dealing with someone who can go blind from bleeding in the back of the eye. The advances in ophthalmology, especially with macular degeneration, which is one of the worst things you can get, they can now do injections to stop the bleeding in the back of the eye. And there are reasons for that, and it's called anti-VEGF, VEGF. And it prevents against bad blood vessels forming, which could bleed. My divine intervention, one of them, the lady came in literally walking into walls after brain surgery. She could not walk a straight line. And the putts of
Wait, so she had brain surgery prior to visiting you?
Yes.
Okay.
And she was walking into walls. Let me tell you something. When you're the surgeon, anybody could create a problem, but you don't tell the patient that they're making it all up and that they're malingering. If you look at me, when you cover this eye, she can see everything over here and nothing over here. When you cover this eye, she can see everything over here and nothing over here. So her visual field is skewed. She only has half. So she was walking because she had no balance, because she was only seeing half the image out of each eye. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
Then what we did was I used what's called yoked, Y-O-K-E-D. You yoke them together,
Okay.
prism, to shift the image this way. And it worked. She walked a straight line. She was no longer depressed. She actually was able to get a driver's license. She was in major depression, if you can imagine this. She was like a vegetable. This was over 20, 25 years ago. The second person who we had dealt with came in to me, Amy, with blurred vision and headaches. Well, who doesn't have blurred vision and a headache coming into the eye doctor's office?
Right.
Anyway, I looked at the optic nerve, it was blurred. Then I did that visual field test, and there was a visual field defect in exactly the same area for each eye, which tells you it's not the eye, it's the brain. Because visual fibers cross from the eyes, they cross in a certain area of the brain and go to the back. As soon as the optometrist, ophthalmologist and neurologist saw it, immediate referral. I think they sent her to Loma Linda. They said she had the largest aneurysm that they've ever seen. An aneurysm is like an out-pocketing of a weakening of a blood vessel. It kind of balloons. If it ruptures and it was in the brain, she would have died. It did rupture, but she was on the operating table when it ruptured, and she's perfectly fine today. And she did lose the vision in one eye, but compared to being totally disabled or dying, she was actually saved. She says, "You saved my life, the surgeon saved my life," and I video these patients. A third one who's interesting, which is on the functional side of things, is I saw a young kid who was reading very poorly, and they said he was learning disabled. That learning disabled kid just is graduating with his master's now, and all it was is that he needed a pair of low reading glasses. And it might sound like nothing, but it's weaker than anything you can get at Thrifty or anything. It's that different, but it relaxes the eyes, and there's reasons for it optically, which I don't think I need to go into. And then I'm going to bring in one other thing, and then we'll start talking. I had a patient come in.
Thanks for letting me do my job. Go ahead.
Can I do this?
Yes, please.
Are you sure?
This is your podcast,
Okay.
Dr. Bob.
Here was a patient who was a tennis player about closer to your age than my age. And I won't say what that age was because she'll smack me right across the thing. But basically they can't see up close. He's got perfect distance vision. I fit him with multifocal contact lenses. Multifocals are interesting because you can't use bifocals in tennis. You can't use bifocals really in golf. But multifocals is continuous vision. What he said to me was his game exploded. He really did well. And his friends were saying, "What, are you taking lessons?" They used to go to point tiebreaker and so forth. Now that he was winning 6-1, 6-2. The difference was because of the multifocal lens and he was able to see near, he was able to act nearly. No, near.
Just want to make sure. Want to make sure I'm translating for the audience out there.
For the audience?
Yeah, the audience. Go ahead.
Okay, so I remember when you're in New York sometime, that's when we start translating that Californian broke. Anyway, so he was able to actually see the spin on the ball, and therefore he knew where the ball was going, and that's why his tennis play improved. Think of it with golf too.
What's amazing is the passion that you have, and you're talking about
I am
these
blessed.
patients.
I am blessed with this. You know, like I said, and I tell my people, I said, and nobody scored lower in the SATs than I did, and I'm doing this, so screw the, no, I better not say that.
Which is just a testimony to perseverance
Yep,
and believing in your dream.
absolutely.
You knew you wanted to be an optometrist.
Absolutely, and I was so afraid that I wouldn't get in. But everything worked into place. I had a person, and then I almost did something stupid on an airplane and almost blew the whole thing, which we will not go into, Amy Valdivia. And you know, as much as I'm speaking as a New Yorker, like a New Yorker, I know really good grammar. Now, I got about 3 other passions. My family, I adore them, and my sister, I mean, we might bicker a little bit, as siblings do, but she comes out here, and she can let her hair down when she's here. She enjoys it quite a bit. She's gone to the chamber, first got off, and we went to, what did we do? There was a chamber mixer that she had just flown into. We picked her up, and off she went there, and she just loves it. New York, I love going back. I go back about 5 or 6 times a year. I actually did one of the hotels in New York where I stayed. I videoed the whole surround. 1, it's right across the street from Macy's. 2, it's got pizza all night, 99-cent pizza. They got 2 Irish pubs, and right across the street from Penn Station, so I don't have to schlep these bags all the friends. I just walk across the street and I can drop them off. And another passion is, of course, working out, which they have a gym there. And so it's just wonderful for me to be there. They're right by Times Square. They're right by all the central stuff.
You have this zest for life.
Yes, my dear.
You love New York. That's your roots. Who gave that to you?
Myself, basically.
No. Who's the biggest?
My influence?
Yes.
Well, not that, but my mom
Right.
is really one of the greatest people. She came out here, family stuff. She moved out here in 1999, and here's an excuse for buying a home, but she did cash. But she bought the home right there, and that was a good part of my sister's and my estate when she sold it 5 years ago. She bought it in 1996, and that worked out really well. And I have my ex to thank for that. She did a lot, even though she still comes in as a patient and I'm treating her, she only trusts me. So that's tantamount to
The kind of optometrist you
yeah,
are.
also the type of person I am too. And my mom was just a tremendous individual. Out here, we took her to quite a few of the chamber events. In fact, we took her to the Taste of the Inland Empire, and Larry Warburton goes up to me and says, "Bobby, your mommy's looking for you." She was 95. She was still driving at 95, and she went up to me because the keys were a different color. I mean, there was questions whether she should be. I said yes. And the mashpuch in Florida said no. I said, that's too bad because I got power of attorney. And God forbid they would have called DMV on her, I would have nailed them. But anyway, she said, "Bob, whose car am I driving?" And I went up to her then and said, "Mom, do you want me to drive for you from now on?" She said yes. She lived also 2 doors down from me. So it was great coverage for each other. I mean, we enjoyed each other. I would be there for her. I was there at her passing. And when the rabbi was doing the service, and you brought this up, I thought it was a good service. I didn't know my mom's Hebrew name. The rabbi said, "What's her Hebrew name?" I don't know. So finally I was clearing out the safety deposit box, and I saw what was called the ketuvah. The ketuvah is the Jewish document of being married. On the ketuvah, I showed the rabbi the ketuvah. I said, "Well, I know it has to be here somewhere, but I can't read Hebrew." He read it's Elka. And so I texted Amy that, and you tell the rest of it.
Well, my daughter's middle name is Elika.
Which I thought, I said, God, you know, that's really, that's really interesting. You know, it's part of the whole genre of what we're talking about here.
Longevity. You've talked about this a little bit now.
Yeah.
That directly impacts the patients that you're serving, especially in today's society with gaming and all sorts of other things, and the fact that we're glued to our phones and all sorts of electronics. Tell me how you're taking care of those people.
There's something new I'm doing. The people who are very nearsighted and come from, there's something called epigenetics. Epigenetics means you have a genetic background, but it's the environment that could kick it off. So these people who come from individuals who are 9, 10 diopters, have thick glasses, there's something called myopia control, nearsighted control. I don't do it personally, but one of the things in my practice, and I do this, and I always tell people when I can't deal with them, I send them out. There's 2 reasons. One, I have a true interest. Secondly, my father was a malpractice attorney. One of the biggest reasons for malpractice, not referring to the appropriate source. But be that as it may, I said, you need to go to the optometry school, see what it is. So what do they do for myopia control? 1, tell the kids to go outside and play. Get off the damn video stuff. 2, certain drops, atropine drops, which I won't do. 3, taking breaks from looking at things close up, which is part of going outside. 4, appropriate conditions. And now there are contact lenses, Amy, that are approved by the FDA for myopia control.
Really?
They're multifocal contacts for kids. One of the things that people like about our office is that the fact I don't hold on to anything. If I can't treat it, I treat them as if they were my family. I will send them out to the appropriate source. I said, if you were a family member of mine, I would do the same thing. So this is stuff we deal with. Now, I did a video on TikTok, and it dealt with what's called peripheral central fusion stereopsis. Even the eye doctors don't know what that is. How important would
Do you
it
want
be?
to translate that Yiddish
What?
for the rest of the world?
Well, but anyway, if you can imagine if you're looking at a screen, this is the whole screen, and you're looking at the central, there's different little things occurring at the periphery. What is it worth to be able to be aware of what's happening centrally, but also by not being stressed out? Because when you stress out, you lose periphery. What's it worth being able to actually deal with periphery? Amy, I want to do something with you.
Oh.
Can I stand for this?
Please.
Okay.
We got you on
Finger.
camera.
Watch this. And I want you to come across
Okay.
and just touch my finger like this, okay?
Okay.
This is sports vision, okay? One more
Okay.
time. Now, cover one eye, that eye. What I want you to do is touch it again, and when I say stop, stop this finger and pull your hand down, okay?
Okay.
Ready? Try to touch it. Stop.
Wow.
You do not have depth perception when you have one eye. Now think there is some basketball players who can't throw a free throw,
Right.
and you wonder if it's because, and that basketball player's eyes might not be, I'm not going to use a name, but might not be straight, and don't try to guess one either.
I can name multiple.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, imagine you're going back for a fly ball and you're trying to keep track, and if you don't have both eyes on it. Now, I wasn't moving, Amy wasn't moving, and my finger wasn't moving. But if you can imagine what this is like to maintain binocular fixation when everything and you're under stress, you can develop these skills. I know you can. There's a whole area of optometry called sports vision, and it deals with some of this being able to aim the eyes, which is like this, and focus the eyes together.
This is all under the umbrella of behavioral.
Of behavioral, absolutely. Has nothing to do with what you call being, I don't want to use the word, but I will, optometric physician, which a lot of them want to be known as. Florida, you're lucky if you can keep your doctor title if you're not an MD. They're trying to change the law, what people can be called physicians and so forth. I could care less about that because I know what I can deal with people. But I'm this animated when I deal with the patients whom we have. Fortunately, we're well received on Yelp. And there's times I get 6, 7, 8 patients in a day, new patients on Yelp.
And that's a testimony to what type of bedside manner and the passion you bring to your practice. Let me say
And
this.
I want to say one thing, so it doesn't
Go
get
ahead.
wrong. And the staff.
Agreed.
The staff, because they're the first, and if they're not good and caring, nobody cares what you know, and this isn't my saying, until they know that you care. It's either Ziegler or Teddy Roosevelt who said that.
I have one question for you.
Uh-oh.
I know we're wrapping up some time for you. There were many businesses that collapsed and struggled during the pandemic.
I like this question.
You were in a space that really you were put on lockdown.
For 7 weeks.
Right. You are already at capacity. We've talked about whether or not you can take on multiple new patients or not. How did you fare through the pandemic? How did you get through it? The benefits.
You want to know?
And how it's impacted your business.
Inquiring minds want to know. I took a stock for shared and divine intervention. Bingo. We didn't lay anybody off, by the way. Now, one person was laid off, and as it turned out, that was a real, somebody goes to me, so why don't you furlough your patients? I said, furlough your staff. And I said, I can't do that. They got families.
I'm going to call you on the carpet right now. How did you pay your your staff?
I'm going to tell you.
I know.
I learned how to trade stocks, and I learned how to trade options. And I learned damn well that every damn stock in the stock market is going to go down and tank as soon as the pandemic was declared, and it did. And as the market was tanking, I was making more and more. So I paid them out of my pocket to actually do that. And it was, I mean, not doing as great now because there's no definite trend. The trend was tremendous. There were days I made a fortune in the stock market, and then I dropped half of it the next day. I can get why, but I did option trading. I did what's called puts. I bought puts, which means I want the stock to go down.
You got creative.
I got creative, but I knew all this stuff for a long time, and as a result of me not laying anybody off, we were able to get the PPP, 2 of them, and
Right.
then that employee retention credit.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, we got in the hundreds of thousands of dollars from the government.
And where did you learn about all of that?
Part of it was Chamber of Commerce. part of it was, I talked to Banking, I heard him getting money. I said, geez, what the heck happened to us?
Andrew Banky, who is one of our chamber members, and he runs the DoubleTree in Claremont. Better?
Yep.
Okay. It was receiving some of these benefits, working his business. And the whole point that I want to get to is, thank you, Andrew, for bringing it up, but multiple people in the chamber were taking advantage of the benefits allowed and afforded.
And the chamber did itself.
And the chamber was educating. It was
everybody.
We were the resource for everybody to come to get that information in order to process their applications.
Exactly.
And now your business is thriving.
We're doing good, but the thing of it is also that payroll has gone up tremendously with everything that has occurred.
So does that mean that my glasses are going to cost more next time I go in?
You mean we're going to defray the outlay? My father used it as a line. He helped me get into Berkeley. I'm going to wrap this up for you soon.
Thank you.
He helped me get into Berkeley Optometry School. What was the most pressing issue facing the healthcare profession? Now, this is 1977 or 76. He said, malpractice insurance. And the last line he used, and he was a lawyer, and the last line he used, and I'll never forget this because they would work together, my parents, on my applications, typing them and everything. They did a ton of it.
Because you had a 400 and a 532.
Because I'm stupid. No, because of the fact that I was busy with school. And I'm not, I give kudos to you because you're organized and you're detailed. I'm not, really not. But anyway, the last line of his thing, and you got to realize this could be ophthalmology reviewing it. The doctors are going to have to defray the outlay by passing the costs on to their patients.
Wow, what a way to reframe that one.
¿Le gusta?
Yes.
Órale.
He's multilingual.
You better hurry up and believe.
As we're wrapping up. Number one, talk about your book. But number two, I want you to give one piece of advice for someone who's following their passion, converting it to a business to make it successful. What would you do?
One, first of all, that's a tough question. So I'm going to answer the book question first. I wrote this book, Looking Good, my passion for optometry and the lives I've changed. It has everything from digital screen time and esports to macular degeneration, from binocular vision to glaucoma and cataracts, and everything in between.
Right.
And a lot of it's anecdotal stories. We have doctors writing review. Amy was kind enough to write a review on the book.
Yes.
Thank you very much. But for doctors, for example, we have a new one today.
In the chamber.
In the chamber. She's been in my office too. And I'd be willing to really help her. And I want to say one other thing before that. One doctor went up to me, and he's been a long time practice, at least 30 years. And he went up to me, and I know the guy's into himself a little bit, but he's got tremendous practice. He said, Dr. Bob, and he doesn't say Dr. Bob, he says, Bob, I want to thank you for revolutionizing my practice by going over everything I said, the excitement, how to deal with patients, how to talk with patients, how to tell the patient everything they need as applies to them. Make each patient a person. They're a person. They're not a cog. They're not part of an assembly team. They're an actual person. That's how he did it. They love it, my patients. And one of the things I really want to do is actually, it's going to be tough because of the dynamics of putting a course together online. But I would love to put something, because I can't scale my business, Amy. I'm not opening up a second practice. I'm not taking on more employees. Scaling means I don't pay extra money. I'm not paying extra expenses, but I'm able to scale it to another level. Do online marketing, I can. And by the way, another person from the chamber, Big Shelby, who used to be part of the chamber, she did all my social media posting, and she gave me the best cheat sheets you ever wanted to see for me to try to do it. And
so treating people like people, humans. They are not a cog in the wheel.
They are not. They are human beings.
And social media.
And social media, and networking within your own community. And you can't think of a better one than the chamber. This chamber's been great, and it's been wonderful. I look forward to all the different events, from the breakfast to the lunch to the different mixers that we have in grand openings and ribbon cuttings.
Perfect time to segue. How does everybody find you to go spend some time with you and have their eyes checked?
Okay, we're Rancho Cucamonga Optometric Center. We're at Baseline in Haven in the Ralph Shopping Center. And basically, website is ranchoeyedoctor.com. Oh, by the way, my New York thing, we have 11,500 followers on my New York Experience with an ED on the end page. I got a YouTube channel, I Talk, that's EYETALK, not talk. I Talk with Dr. Bob.
I talk with Dr. Bob.
Yep.
Over
and
coffee all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
I
know
enjoyed
we're
the
looking
heck
at the clock.
Yep.
We got to get you out of here. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. Everything you bring to the table. Thank you so very much for teaching.
I truly did, and I want to thank you guys for really dealing with it. And I really
Use guys.
I
Did
really
you hear
don't
that
say
out
that
there?
too much, but I get into the genre.
Use guys, the people out there from the New Yorker. Thank you, Dr. Bob.